Hi everyone, it's Chris. Petri, welcome everyone. We're going to do an interesting study on some sketching of simple shapes and some shadowing. Last time we created a video, we went over a great book called Keys to Drawing. Pretty easy to find online. I have, I think, 2 copies. And usually if I am talking with someone that likes to draw or sketch and they want to have some good material to work from, I usually will give out a book and just loan somebody out a book or 2. So this is a great book. Again, Keys to Drawing. You can find it online anywhere on the internet. So basically, it just has all kinds of different exercises in it, sketches. So here there's some, we'll try this. We're going to try a few of these. So these are basic shapes, the cube, cylinder, cone, sphere. So we're going to try some basic shapes, and the only thing different about this, we'll use some watercolor paint to do our shadowing. So we'll draw first and then we'll put in some shadows with some watercolor, some simple basic watercolor. An inexpensive set I have here of watercolors, and it's just you can get these at any basics hobby stores, craft stores, online too. It's non-toxic, kind of like gel paint, so it's a little softer than normal watercolor paint that comes from the tube, with more your expensive brands and I guess the brands you would usually get at like an art store. So these are more, if you spritz these with a little bit of water, they activate real nice, real fast. So we'll use some of this just to have some shadow color. So nothing fancy here. And I'll just start off with a pencil here. This is an 8B. And this is a Statler pencil. Let's try a cube here. We'll contour draw. So this will be a contour drawing exercise. So sometimes you'll notice sometimes people will draw kind of sketchy like this. So that's sort of like sketching out an idea, and that's interesting. Contour drawing is more just starting in one place and then carefully going from point to point. So those are 2 styles of drawing. Everyone, I guess, has their own techniques on drawing. So it's kind of good to practice all types of drawing. So this would be contour drawing. This would be sketching out an idea, maybe. I prefer doing the contour drawing most always. And so we'll get started. We'll create our cube first. And maybe we'll section this. We'll do four exercises. So here we'll start with the cube. Okay, and then we can continue this. It's like a table, so we'll capture that table feel. And then let's try the cylinder. Again, I'm going real slow here, and I'm just looking at my picture. Okay, that's our cylinder. Then we'll do a cone. And then again, that table feel. So this is each of our shapes is like resting on a table. In this way, it has much more of a feel of stability versus kind of floating in space in a sense. So once we create a this line back here, creating that feel of a table or platform of some sort, it makes it feel more. It feels more secure and like anchored to the picture. And we'll try a sphere. Alright, that was fun. That was really fun. Doing these quick basic shapes. And what's fun about this too is we can like take a group of these and put them like maybe 2 or 3 in the same picture. Like in the exercise in the book, which the book is I have it sitting across from me, so that, and I have so these drawings are across from me, and I'm copying from the book. And then some of the other exercises we can see here, the artist created also like groupings of the shapes. So that's also fun to do. But for now, we're just going to isolate. We'll do one at a time. Like in the book here, it's pretty much so it starts off doing them one at a time, the shapes, and then it moves into doing them in groupings. And there's sometimes at art supply stores you'll find that they have some of these. They sell like little kits with like cubes and cylinders and spheres and cones like in different colors, and you can like set them down on a table and draw them. You could also use, like for cubes, you can use a box, like any kind of box that you might have around the house. You know, a cylinder could be like a soda can or something like that. You know, a cone could be like a party hat. And then of course anything like an apple or an orange could be used for a baseball or a soccer ball or whatever. So you can kind of draw different things that are similar to these shapes. And they also, again, have kits you can buy that have these. They're online too. I think online. I've seen them on online. All right, so now we're going to have a little fun. Again, we're going to notice that in these drawings that we're copying from the book, you can see that the shading it's subtle, but there's darker, and so there's light tonal values here. Then there's medium tonal values like here and here. And then there's the darkest darks, which would be the darker tonal values here. So we'll try to capture that with our paint. So a simple way we could do this if we wanted to, we could just go by feel, which if you've been painting quite a number of years, you can do this by feel, by just mixing your paints in your palette. If you're newer to, let's say, watercolor, you can use, maybe just black paint. So there's all different ways you can do it, and I say try a whole bunch of different ways. Try different colors. Try just using maybe like black paint or sepia tone paint. Maybe try like brighter colors, making it more colorful on each of these exercises. So here we'll just go with a more simple, like we'll just use like maybe a mixture of like grayish tones, maybe some sepia and some mixtures of that type of tonal value. Alright, so let's I'm just mixing some tonal values here. And what I think I'm going to try to do the darkest darks, and I should have done this drawing in the shadows. So let's do this quick. And over here, and so the light's coming from different directions on each of these drawings. So on this cube, I'm going to go with the darkest dark first. I'm going to take my time. What I might do is I might do the darkest darks in each I'm going to lighten this up just a little bit. It's not quite as dark as that cast shadow. And I carefully move my brush around. I usually anchor my hand to the paper and then just move my brush around. And I angle my brush just by feel, what would make most sense to be able to get the straight line. If I'm doing a cube or something with like a straight line, like a building, or I would try to angle my brush the same way the line. This is very light on top. This is completely white paper. Sometimes it's good to put maybe a W if you're going to leave something completely white. I notice myself even when I'm drawing and sketching and doing painting, sometimes if I put a little W, we can always erase that once we're done painting, but I notice that if I put that W there, it works out great because this way I won't fill it in with paint, and this way we can leave the white of the paper there, which is really important. Or we could put a little like a check mark or something like that too. All right, so that looks pretty good. The light would be coming from this direction, so the bright light it strikes this side of the cube, and then from there the cast shadow is on the side of the cube, and then this is a little lighter, the top. There's a little more light up above. This is just a little bit darker on the side, and then the back here in the backdrop is a little darker too. So that's somewhat of what the pencil sketch looks like. Just now we just did it with the watercolor paint, and we'll try the we'll do the cylinder next. So the cylinder is I'll put a white, W for white, up top on that, and then we'll start with a dark area here. And then we'll go a little bit lighter. Then there's a bit of light on this side. So I'm going to rinse off my brush and maybe just dry off the brush a little bit with a paper towel or a tissue, and then we'll just it's almost all white there on the side, on this side of the cylinder. And then we're going to go with and I went a little darker over here than this sketch might show. Kind of looks good to blend it in with the shadow. This is the only area that could be an issue. Maybe sometimes it's best to let this dry. So and all right, that looks pretty good. So we have the real dark cast shadow, that's the darkest dark, and then the rest is sort of middle tones and a little lighter on the tabletop. If you find you go a little too dark on an area, you can always blot up a little bit of paint. And of course it'll dry lighter too. Mostly everything that you're going to paint will dry lighter actually. Okay, let's do the cone. And we'll go with the okay, that's the darkest dark. And here again I would just have a damp clean brush with a little bit of water in it and just kind of the light's coming from this direction again, from the left to the right, so the cone is pretty much white paper here. Then a little bit of paint and tonal value there, and then it gets a little darker on this side, and then we can always go in and add some little bit of some more sepia or black. And then I rinse my brush again. And a little bit of light wash on the tabletop. Okay, and we'll do the sphere next. This will lighten a little bit. If you find something might be even too dark, you can also, again, wet it a little bit and then a couple just taps with a dry tissue. And let's do the sphere. Again, this could be a baseball, basketball, piece of fruit like an apple or an orange. You can find things if you... I think this book is a great book, Keys to Drawing. If you can pick up the book, it's a great book to work from. But you can also just set these type of things down on a table very simply with, you know, just again, you can use you know, anything like a for any of these objects. Again, like a small box, a can, like a soda can, a party hat, or you know, something similar like a cone shape. And then there's again, you can use a lot of like any kind of sports type, like a you know, baseball, a softball, a golf ball, whatever. And okay, let's do the sphere. So that is okay. Light is coming from this direction now. So we'll go with shadow is over here, the cast shadow. And I just carefully, I have a good point on this brush. That's kind of important. If you have a brush that doesn't have a really good point, you might have to search around for a pointier brush so you can get those nice sharp crisp lines underneath the where your cast shadows are. And then here we'll blend that together, and we can mix up a little bit of and again, I'm blending the shadows, and you can sense if you see an area where the tonal values are the same or the shadowing is the same, you can blend those areas right in together. So I'm blending in the background, which could be a wall back here or some curtains or something like that behind the table. You can just run that right into this because this is the same tone or value of shading. And then here we would make sure we keep it separate because the light's now striking along this side of the sphere. So we make sure that we don't want to cross over into this white area here where the bright light is. Sometimes there's reflected light that you'll see on an object where the light might strike the table and then bounce up